This lesson is all about the drum grip. That is probably the most important thing that you will learn as a percussionist. The way that you hold the stick and hit the drum, any type of drum at all, is fundamental to your success as a percussionist. So to understand the grip, the stick has something called a fulcrum. That means that there's a point on the stick that is not equal balanced, like a swing, not a swing, a seesaw, but halfway between that equal balance and the end of the stick is where your hand is going to go. And that will create just enough weight on the end of the stick to give you the resilience to be able to bounce or create fast strokes. See the edge of the stick here? Tap up against my hand, and this part almost looks like it's wiggling in a way. But my hand does not have to do much in order to get that to happen. And part of it is because of the way that I'm holding or gripping the stick. There's a line that runs between my arm and the stick, and my finger is forming a hook that the stick fits in, and then my thumb closes around the other part. Notice that the other three fingers really are not involved in this. It's just the pointer and the thumb. These three are just gently around but not grabbing the stick. That's an important thing. A lot of people make that mistake of grabbing the stick with all their fingers. And it's really just here. And these are just there for support, not for grabbing. The next thing to know is that the other hand is exactly the same. So we call this a matched grip. And then we form this shape. From the center of the drum, it's a V or an A or an angle, whatever way you want to look at it. But this is the basic shape for snare drumming and ultimately all drumming. The only difference is sometimes this hand may turn a little bit, or the palms will face the ground. When you're playing a drum set, sometimes this hand turns, but it still does the same motion. Then the idea is that you are not striking the drum. People think, oh, you hit a drum. But you're not striking the drum. You're actually pulling the sound out of the drum. And how that happens is something called a rebound. You're going to make the motion toward the drum, but really what you're doing is when you get close to the drum, you're going to take your wrist and pull the sound out of the drum. Some people look at my hand when I do that and they say, well, you didn't even hit the drum because your eye has a hard time seeing. It just sees that it kind of comes right back to the place it started. That rebound is essential. Don't get in the habit of leaving your hand there, because then you're pressing the sound into the drum. So you'll find all that on page 1 of your lesson book. And page 2 talks about the formation of your hand. The one essential thing is never, ever, ever point your finger. This has no control. So it's all about your wrist and not your arm. Most of the time we will use a half stroke, which is closer. See how little I'm moving? And I'm continually pulling the sound out of the drum. The next page talks about the different types of drums. I'm not going to set up toms or a bass drum yet. We're going to talk about the snare drum and then a cymbal. We may use the rim quite often.